It's the holiday season, folks. It's time to be filled to the brim with Christmas cheer to the point that it's coming out your nose, coming out your ears, and coming out of whatever orifice that you have. And you know how you're going to get into the Christmas spirit? You're going to make sure that you go to the Hallmark Channel or you go to one of the many streaming services that you're subscribed to, such as Amazon, that has a new holiday romantic drama comedy from Tyler Perry. This is the third Tyler Perry movie that has come out this year, the second from Amazon. What I do deserve this? I don't deserve this. No one deserves this. Who asked for this? Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Tyler Perry's Finding Joy is an Amazon original, and Tyler Perry is apparently still allowed to make movies. I know he's made good movies in the past. He just hasn't been allowed to really be, or let himself be restrained to the point that he isn't producing anything other than this goddamn slop. If you thought that Hallmark made movies that were too generic, that Netflix made movies that were too generic, themed around the holidays, baby, you ain't seen nothing yet. Probably should not do the review like this. So yeah, this movie's fucking terrible. Absolutely terrible. The characters are super unlikable. The scenarios, despite being simplistic, are completely far-fetched. And the mere fact that this movie is an hour and 47 minutes with end credits. It doesn't feel a day under 5 years long. This is interminable. This is terrible. And I didn't expect much from this, and I got less. It's not as bad as Run, it's not as bad as War of the Worlds, but it is really apocalyptically awful. And why did I decide to review this? Because I hate myself, because I clearly do not value my time. I watched Frankenstein, I watched Predator Badlands. I thought Die My Love was annoying. No, Die My Love at least had good acting. This doesn't. I'm not saying the actors in this movie are bad, I'm just saying that they were allowed to act really goddamn bad. So we have a woman named Joy, so as far as Finding Joy goes, we found her, okay, we can go home. It's like finding fucking Waldo. Anyway, Shannon Thornton, who was in Mea Culpa / My Fault. Remember that Kelly Rowland movie that was really terrible that came out last year? That one. Yeah, that one. Actually, that one had a really, really hilarious last 30 minutes. It absolutely had me in stitches. None of this movie had me in stitches, except I wanted to cut things open and then stitch them back up badly, so maybe an infection would develop, and then maybe Tyler Perry wouldn't be allowed to make a movie again without being told how to make one, because he doesn't know how to make one unless he is actually just guided, because whatever forces, he allows to guide him are guiding him into the goddamn pit. Does Tyler Perry hate humanity? Genuinely, does he hate humanity? Like, some of his movies, and I need to watch a couple of his other ones. There's that military one that came out on Netflix a couple years ago that I heard actually wasn't all that bad, and there have been a couple others that I do need to dive into that I will at some point, perhaps next year. But by and large, Tyler Perry's time behind the camera has just produced abysmal film after abysmal film after abysmal film. I just literally felt like watching the film like this the whole goddamn time, because it actually would have looked better, because that's about how well the scenes are blocked. In fact, looking out a hat like this, you might actually be able to film something better than Tyler Perry could. The scene blocking was absolutely terrible. The best friends were super, super annoying. Not even as actresses, just as characters. It seems like every scenario or every scene was from a completely different movie. Like, you have Joy and eventually Ridge, her in one movie. You have a guy that she had a crush on that dropped a bomb on her that is in a completely different movie. And then you have the friends that seemingly are trying to pump up every goddamn cliche that there isn't. Yeah, this movie's dumb as hell. Joy has a job that she hates in the big city, doing fashion designs, but working subservient to a character named Patrick. It's played by Eric Stanton Betts, or Statson's Best, whatever. Stetson, it's easy for you. And she ends up going to Colorado because she has a crush on a guy named Colton, and ends up getting there, and it ends up not being what she thought. And in her haste to try and get out, she ends up basically at a cabin of a man named Ridge, who's living there for reasons I will talk about in the spoiler section. So yeah, everything about this movie annoyed me, pissed me off, made me actually think that Tyler Perry actively wants to kill off film. He cannot love film, he definitely doesn't love himself, and he definitely hates humanity, because there is no reason for a movie to be this bad. The acting isn't quite as bad as in Run. The character work isn't quite as bad as in Run. But boy, is it bad. It's a hodgepodge of ideas, Human Centipede together, but then stretched out. And the characters, I emphasize, the characters of Joy and Ridge are so goddamn unlikable. And go from 0 to 60, but then run into a wall like Dale Earnhardt Sr. or Kobe on a helicopter. I don't feel bad about that because Kobe got away with shit. Whole point is, this movie is so goddamn bad, it made me want to take the Christmas spirit and stick it right up this movie's ass. So yeah, it's terrible. It is 1000% terrible, one of the worst movies of the year. I'm going to get into spoilers and probably rant more. My head hurts. 3, 2, 1, spoilers. There you go. So yeah, they let Tyler Perry make a romantic rom-com dramedy. It's a crimedy. It's a crime against nature. We have a fashion show thing that basically is like the Victoria's Secret. It's like a secretion of stupid all over us. Joy designed stuff, but Patrick has basically taken her design because she's his assistant. And because he happens to be a gay man, she happens to be a black woman, so I guess we're just going to make fun of both types here. Joy likes this guy Colton. The friends are not all that certain about this. Ashley and Lydia. Lydia with 2 T's, by the way, not, L-I-D-I-A or L-Y-D-I-A, spelled like a normal person would spell it. So anyway, these friends are nervous about that. They're thinking he could possibly be a serial killer, or he could pop the question. And once she gets to Colorado, well, before that, we basically get a line where this type of shit doesn't happen in real life, referencing her romance novels. Gee, I wonder if that's going to factor into the finish of the movie. It does. It fucking does. And everyone is so cliche and so stupid. So she gets to Colorado, a town called Ouray, or whatever, Oura. And she ends up arriving at Colton's house just as they're talking about the worst storm of the year. Not the storm of the century. This is not that Shining miniseries thing with Steven Weber. I think that was a Shining thing. Nevertheless, they're expecting 60 inches, and boy, is she going to be sore afterwards. Or he. We don't judge. I'll judge Tyler Perry all I want, harshly. He deserves to be judged in front of a goddamn Supreme Court justice or fucking Nuremberg for what he's done to film. I'm not going to watch the Nuremberg movie, by the way, because that's 2.5 hours, and I have other movies to watch, so I'll watch the remake of Nuremberg at some point. Anyway, he's going to pop the question to her. The question is, he wants her to be his best girl, because he's actually dating this woman named Heather, who's played by Natalie O'Connell. And she gets like 2 scenes in this. 2. So anyway, yeah, because of that, now she's panicked, and look, that's understandable that she would be upset thinking this guy liked her, and he does like her, just not that way. Could have been honest about that and been direct, but nevertheless, none of this dialogue is funny. And none of these scenarios are funny. Now my voice is giving out. Hooray, hooray, thanks Tyler Perry. So she escapes, throwing her luggage out the window, and then diving out the goddamn window into a snowbank. And then she's going to try to get out, but the flights are grounded. By the way, this airport doesn't look like it would deal with anything other than single-engine planes. But nevertheless, it's not Denver International Airport. DIA, as it were. So she ends up talking to one very, very pretty airport worker, that's always smiling. They want them to be smiling and everything. Having worked customer service, they want us to smile. I don't, because I don't really fucking care, but at the airport I can understand it. Anyway, she was cute, and then Joy goes to talk to the car rental person and says, hey, I need a car. I'll take it. I don't care. It's a Mini Cooper. Mini Coopers don't last well in the snow. I mean, I have a Chevy Aveo. That doesn't do well in the snow, except maybe 3 inches. But anything more than 3 inches, and it starts to flop around, just like my ex. So I won't let you, try to imagine much any more than that, whether I'm talking about me or somebody else. But nevertheless, her Mini Cooper gets stuck. And then she gets locked out of her car because she spins off the road. And she can't get her stuff. And then the Mini Cooper sinks. And then she sinks into the icy lake. And movie's over. Great. Oh no. She's in a cabin. There's a man named Ridge who saved her because he was out hunting. That's pretty much it. So, he kept her safe. He wasn't going to let her drown. He doesn't have social media or TV or a phone or anything. It's just me, it's just him, nature, and God. God should have smited this movie, along with Tyler Perry, as far as I'm concerned. I don't want to be rude. He's asking, but are you mentally stable? I think that could have been asked about any character in this movie, by the way. Because he's worried about how she's acting because she's used to the city life. He's all about the country life. We find out why he's living in the middle of nowhere, by the way. And meanwhile, Colton and Heather and the parents are wondering what's going on. Actually, it's just Colton and Heather. I think the parents just vanished. I think the parents got eaten by wolves. I would have rather been eaten by a pack of wolves rather than continue to watch this. But they're baffled that she's gone. They check the next morning. They don't check. It was the afternoon when she arrived there, and she locked herself in her room, and they didn't bother to check until the morning. Oh, was there a bathroom in the bedroom? Did they not wonder what her toilet did? What? How do you not know if a guest is not there? Anyway, she's got to stay in the cabin until it passes. God, this is so humiliating when she gets stuck to the outhouse. She gets stuck to the outhouse, seat, because wet seat on a frozen or on a warm ass in a frozen area, and she's gonna get stuck. So he pours hot coffee and gets her unstuck, and her ass is fine. So she didn't lose any skin. She didn't have skin in the game, as the kids say. And yeah, the friends are both baffled, by all this because they haven't heard from her because her phone's at the bottom of a goddamn lake, and also they get high. Weed jokes. They called the police at one point, and they're in Colorado. The friends are in New York. The kids are the kids. This movie should have been made by kids. It would have at least had more effort put into it. But Joy, and Ridge are in Colorado. They don't have Colton's number. They try to call the police. The police are asking, "Hey, are you doing illegal drugs?" And what's he gonna do? It's out of his jurisdiction. Why is any of this happening? Why are we only like halfway through this movie at this point? So everybody in this movie is so unlikable, especially Joy and Ridge. And she ends up basically getting his quilt all wet. This is after, by the way, he reveals that he lost a jacket his mother gave him when he dove into the lake. And now he's worried the quilt that she gave is damaged. And she ends up, after it's hung and dries, she ends up fixing it with proper stitching because she's worked fashion. She understands stuff and then sees on the tag Joy and Ridge, because Joy was his mother's name. And he sees it as a sign that his mother's telling him to move on by sending him a woman with that exact same name. That is a Sigmund Freud-like situation. But what, Tyler, do you have something you want to tell us, you weirdo? So anyway, I wrote down his mom's name is Joy. I quit. I quit. I quit. I don't want to watch this. I don't deserve this. I have done nothing to deserve this. I've only knocked movies that have absolutely deserved the knocking, but I have done nothing in my life to deserve to have to deal with this. And yes, I could have turned it off at any point. But guess what? I was locked in to finish this shit because then I could do a video and I could knock it. And I could warn all you motherfuckers to not watch this shit. And if you have, please let me know what you thought. I would love to know what you guys thought. I would love to know if you made it through the entire goddamn movie because I barely did. So, his dad apparently got remarried 6 months after the mom died. The brothers agree with it. He didn't, so he's living in the cabin that him and his mother had. And no one basically knows how to talk to anybody like an actual human. I hate this shit. They're getting romantic with each other, but I hate this. Everything about this just feels so forced, contrived, generic, and incomprehensibly awful. So, they both have had bad relationships. She knows she's a good woman. He says she's beautiful. And he's just a boy. She's just a girl. Could we make it any more obvious? And then we finally get a romance 33 minutes in. The storm has finally passed. And oh, they were drunk. But don't worry. She wants to get back to civilization, but she really appreciates what he did and him helping her. But then he basically leaves without basically saying goodbye. So after the cops and friends show up. Now back to her life. So then she goes back to her job. Somebody had emailed her job saying, hey, these are her designs going back to 2012. They thought she sent it because it was from her computer. It turns out Letitia, spelled stupidly, by the way, would, she would try to help. But it didn't, and she got fired. This hit the accelerator on how Hallmark movies usually wrap shit up, or the Netflix rom-coms that they've been churning out, how they wrap things up in the last 20 minutes. This goes from like 0 to 120 and smashes headfirst into a wall. But she didn't send an email, but there we go. Joy's upset at her friend. She goes to leave. Here's Ridge. Ridge showed up because he couldn't stop thinking about her. He loves her, and he wants to be with her and this kind of stuff, and she's just not sure, and then she finally cracks, and they end up kissing, and oh boy, it's so romantic that I forgot to give a fucking shit. God, I hate her. I wish that I had never gotten in any relationship ever. I don't ever want to be even close to anybody after this. I want to be left the fuck alone after this. So anyway, let's just talk about the rest of this. He apologizes, does all that. They get together. So then her job calls and says, hey, we want to talk to you. So they both go. And it turns out that, well, the professor that the boss knew sent more stuff, and it matches her writing, her designs. So they want her around. They want to get rid of Patrick, who just walks off in the most offensively effeminate way possible. I'm amazed that people weren't just like, well, that's bullshit. We should reshoot that and make him act like a human, but whatever. He couldn't slam the door too hard, though, because it was a fucking set. And she decides, you know what? No, I want to go back to my life in Colorado. But then Ridge basically says, no, this is what you want to do. Look, we can spend time in Colorado. We can spend time here. I care about you. I want to marry you. He's known her for a week, but whatever. So, yeah, she's going to make her designs, and she wants things to change as far as how people are dealt with, and then they get married, and then that's it. And yeah, Merry fucking Christmas. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's a happy holiday season. Fuck Tyler Perry's parents for giving birth to him. How dare you? How fucking dare you, Tyler Perry? How dare you call yourself a filmmaker? Whether he's made a couple good films or not, this is bullshit. So yeah, that's it. It gets an F. It is one of the worst movies of the goddamn year, and we're just in the beginning of November. I watched Frankenstein and Little Amelie, or the character of Rain, earlier today, and Little Amelie was one of my favorite movies and made me feel everything. This movie made me feel like I wish I didn't have feelings. Thank you, Tyler Perry, you fucking goddamn piece of shit. Anyway, if agree, disagree what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter, Letterboxd, Blue Sky handles in the description. I'm John Ritlin, and until we see, please, better holiday movies than this. There are 4 coming up on Netflix soon. Why do I do this to myself? What the fuck do I do to deserve this? See you soon.